there's been a little bit of discussion about the NCHC preseason poll, which almost mimics what the USCHO poll did. I got it right here. So a lot of it is pretty similar to what we already have. So Denver at number 1, North Dakota number 2, CC at number 3. So we said Chris Mack's squad was going to get better, and oh my goodness, have they ever?
Oh, yeah.
Last year, I really think they got, at least under his watch, the first real good respect nationally that they deserve. They're going to be a force to be reckoned with this year, especially with Caden and Barrico, in between the pipes. St. Cloud again at 4, Omaha at 5. And then maybe some surprises and maybe a spot that Max Veech is going to not agree with. Western Michigan at 6, Minnesota-Duluth at 7, Arizona State at 8, Miami, again, as we talked about, at 9. That's the NCHC preseason poll. Max, we talked about that clump in the middle, right? Really above Miami. And again, this is no disrespect to the Red Hawks, but there's a lot that could flip and flop, and there's really no way to tell beyond those top 3 where those teams could end up. But I do remember you making a comment on how Minnesota-Duluth, how in the heck are they 7? And I want to start there because I know that you think they should be higher.
I certainly do. And, when you're talking about teams like this, everybody tries to figure out what the floor and what the ceiling is for every one of these teams. So it's kind of a sliding scale. You can see a little bit of overlap, and those top 3 are in your top tier there. I think if you're really going to tier them, it's probably going to be Denver and Nodak in that tier 1, CC in a tier probably by themselves as it stands right now, without any knowledge of how the new guys are going to fare throughout the conference there. And then you've got that mix that we're talking about, and there is a wide range for every one of these teams. And I'll be the first to admit that UMD's range is probably the widest, but that has a lot to do with their talent pool that's coming in. And I can't say enough good things about it, and it seems like neither can anybody else. I think it was College Hockey News or College Hockey Inc. I'm not sure which one it was that had them as the number 1 recruiting class in the country. And they weren't the only ones to say that. So when you're talking about a team that's got the number 1 recruiting class in the country and all these highly touted players and this, that, and the other thing, they're ranked 7th, which is where they finished last year. So they're not going to increase at all. That's insane to me. There's no way that you can legitimately make any sense to me that, oh, you're going to finish exactly where you were with all of this extra talent and number 1, or not number 1, but NHL draft picks and highly touted goaltender and all these different pieces coming in, but your team's not going to get any better or, get any more wins. I don't see that happening. But I can understand, people playing it safe. And, if that means we're the underdog, I will be happily, jumping into that role. I like having a little bit more to fight for. And I think the guys on the team have embraced that, and they're kind of that same mentality right now. And based on what I've seen, there's been guys at camp or at the facility early this summer, even all year, putting in work for the ones that are able to make it there. And they're looking forward to shutting some people up and turning some heads. So I certainly don't agree with a 7 overall ranking, but I can see why some of the doubters who are maybe a little bit unfamiliar with the names coming in might have dropped him there, and I'm looking to prove them wrong too.
I have a bit of a different take on this, Max, only because that's just me and that's what I do, and I just love to all your feathers. But it's not that I agree that they should be 7, but is it fair to say that, hey, it's not a indictment on the talent level, because I think we both agree there's a lot of talent there. Especially, up front in goal. I mean, if there's any team that could rise / catch people's eyes more than Duluth this season, I'd like to know what that team is, honestly. But do you think it's fair to say, hey, there's talent here, but it's still a jump from juniors to college? There's still an adjustment. You just never know what's going to happen. Maybe this whole year it takes them to adjust. Maybe, they do it half a season. So is it more the fact that, it's not that, we don't think that they're talented, but maybe the pollsters out there are just wanting to see it proven?
Yeah, I think that's certainly a fair take. You're seeing Max Plant, for example, coming in as what should be a true freshman, a really young guy. It's not something you see in the NCHC all that often, and certainly not something you see at UMD very often. Not that you see a ton of national team development program players coming into UMD anyway, but
Well,
having
at
that
least for
skill.
the full 4 years, but that's a different.
Right. Exactly. But that's something that they're looking forward to, and they're excited to have that kind of a talent to showcase as well. So I do think that size is always going to be a factor, especially in the NCHC with the kind of grueling season that you have to grind out. And UMD has dealt with injuries because, I don't want to say because of smaller players, but like coincidentally, they have had a lot of injuries and smaller players the last couple of seasons, because I think it was 2 years ago, maybe 3, they had a relatively large freshman or underclassmen group come in as well. And they kind of struggled a little bit, especially that first year. So I certainly think that is possible. But some of these freshmen at UMD are coming in. We're talking about 6-footers, and some of them are 180 pounds, and they're not necessarily undersized for college. They might be undersized for the NCHC. So there is going to be a learning curve. I'll give them the grace on that. It is going to be an adjustment that a lot of them are going to have to make in their games, and some of the puck possession things that they've maybe been used to in the past, they're going to have to figure out a new way to get around people instead of going through them. But yeah, I can understand that side of the argument. I'm so sick of trying to be fake optimistic and getting to be really optimistic for a little bit. So
I don't blame
I'm
you.
not going to be I'm not going to be the guy that's succumbing to negative thoughts until I have to.